Zahvaljujem se profesoru Matiću na inspirativnom podsjećanju na naše korene i zamolio bih našeg prvog pozivnog predavača, profesora Ilku Vuorija iz Finske, da nam se obrati sa aktualnim informacijama i istraživanjima koje su vezane za njegovu osnovnu temu, uticaj fizičke aktivnosti na zdravlje. Profesore, izvolite.
Dear friends of sports, physical activity and exercise. It's a very great honor and pleasure to have been invited to see this important meeting. Everybody knows that Serbia has produced and supported a great number of great athletes. And we heard just now that the roots of sports for all are also deep in the 150 years history of organized sports in Serbia. And on my behalf, I want to congratulate the first association and the whole Serbian sports movement for the excellent work it's done. And you see my title there, and what you see here, I think you'll think you see an elderly retired professor. But actually, at the moment you see a salesman who is trying to sell you a physical activity health insurance. This insurance to you personally, to your children, to your parents, to your grandparents, and to the whole nation. And as salesman, usually I may have too much to say, and I hope that I don't go too far and that you have the tolerance to follow my talk. And when we speak about insurance, it's investment in future, and insurance is investment. I think this is one of my key messages in a way when I speak about physical activity for health. And what investment does this insurance require? It requires regular, sustained, personal physical activity for that person or those persons who take the insurance. And the other part, which we have also to pay attention more and more, is that we should avoid sitting and being completely inactive. And it's one of the poisonous habits and poisonous environments we have, and we should be aware of that. And what does this insurance cover? Like any insurance, actually, it does not cover completely anything, but it decreases many common risks to health, and it improves many aspects of health. So there's the preventive and health improvement part, which are partly combined, partly separate. And I give quite a few examples. And here is a table showing how much greater is the risk in persons who are physically inactive compared to those who are moderately active. And you can see that the coronary heart disease risk is 1.5 to 2 times higher in the sedentary persons. The risk for stroke is about 2 times or even more higher. This is quite new, not as a finding, but as an established fact. We can take this seriously. There is very hard evidence that physical activity has preventive effect on stroke. The same with diabetes, and we have seen that even 60% of type 2 diabetes can be prevented by healthy diet and moderate physical activity. Obesity, very important at the moment. The risk to be or to become obese is 2 times higher in physically inactive persons compared to moderately active. Hypertension risk is 30% higher. Colon cancer risk is 40% higher in physically inactive. Breast cancer 30% higher. We can now take the question mark off. That's already established fact. Osteoporotic fractures in old persons, very, very serious health problem, 30 to 50% less or smaller risk. And naturally aerobic capacity is especially important at old age when the reserves go down. And then we see that the rate of decline with age or aerobic power is about 50% compared to, or it's 50% faster in the physically inactive persons. And the risk of loss of independence is 10 to 20 years earlier for the physically inactive persons. And I think it should tell something. And then even more examples. They are quite few. I don't go all of these through. And if the organizers want, they can use these slides to prepare a summary paper including these slides, and it can be distributed to you if you want. And I think that we will hear some of the indications for physical activity listed here later on, like congenital heart failure. So we see that there is a very large variety of health indications for which physical activity is useful. I have taken one special example here, the endometrial cancer. It has been stated before that there is not enough evidence to show that endometrial cancer can be prevented by sufficient physical activity, but there are now 2 very thorough meta-analysis systematic reviews on this topic, and both of them agree that there is enough evidence to say that physical activity has about or decreases the risk of endometrial cancer about 30%. And all these percentages are very high actually, and they are very comparable to any other preventive measure, except maybe tobacco smoking, which is real poison, and therefore it's so strong factor harming health. And there are more of these indications for physical activity, and I don't go through them all here, but you see every organ system is affected by physical activity. And I come back to the cognitive functions later on. And then some interesting findings here, which are interesting, some for men and some for males. And then I go to what are some key reasons for the physical activity, to take the physical activity health insurance. And for healthy adults, I think that projecting to the future, one important aspect is quite simple actually, and it is that we live in environments where where we are bound more or less to sedentarism. You don't have it here so much, we don't have it so much in Finland, but go to the United States or to many other very populated countries, also developing countries. There are very few possibilities for safe, enjoyable physical activity. We are, for instance, in much better position here. Physical fitness is not only aerobic fitness or fitness for sports or so, but it means that the metabolism is in order if you are fit. And that's actually, from health point of view, the most important thing, because it carries effects to coronary heart disease, to stroke, to metabolic syndrome, to hypertension, to diabetes, to cancers, and so on. So metabolism is the key factor behind or below. And therefore physical fitness is in a way also indicator of healthy metabolism. And then naturally prevention of overweight and obesity is very important for adults, and I come back to this, and then prevention of metabolic diseases, and then I have put that all these aspects can be influenced by mainly aerobic activity like brisk walking, jogging, cross-country skiing, swimming, and so on. And what about for children? What are some of the main reasons? Madam Minister already said something about this. You are experts on this. I don't go too much on these aspects because they are basis for physical education in schools and so on. And we should protect the place and improve the place of physical activity in schools. But what I want to take here now on the basis of very new information, we can take obesity as a very great threat. But until now, we have not reliably known what it means if a child is obese at the age of from 5 to 15 or so. Here is a very new Danish study, the upper part of the slide, showing the lower part of the slide, showing that those children who have been overweight or obese at the age of 7 to 13 have about 35% increased risk of coronary heart disease 25 years later when they are in their middle age, not in old age. And I think this is really something to think about. We know all the psychosocial, economical, and so on harms which obesity certainly causes, and the orthopedic problems are very obvious. But here is now one of the first very, very reliable scientific evidences that overweight causes metabolic diseases quite early. And then Van Damme et al. Stated that obese adolescent girls had 2 to 3 times higher risk to die at middle age as compared to normal weight. It's quite threatening, I think. So we have to take the obesity epidemic in the youth very, very seriously. And then therefore I have put the recommendation for you. You should, or